We have been trying to go back to Argentina for the past 2.5 years, but the world was at a point of instability.
A mysterious virus was taking people's breath away.
The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades.
That started in China and is now spreading throughout the world.
COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
But after years of trying and failing, what felt like one random night, we packed our bags and headed to the airport.
Ay, nos pasó por adelante, Marcos, impresionante.
We had to travel what felt like the entire world to get back home. First to Istanbul. Just landed in Istanbul, Turkey. Then São Paulo. And finally, Argentina. And for the first time in 4 years of living in Dubai, we stepped foot on the homeland. And at that point, we were the happiest people on earth. Alright, so it's day 2. It's a very sunny day, very nice. We just got back from walking the dog and we are about to get on the road. So yeah, let's do this. The group morale that morning was really high and everyone was really excited to start the road trip. So we just packed our bags and hit the road. In the car, it was myself, my grandfather, and my lazy dog, which did literally nothing but sleep until we got to our stop. Alright, so I just stopped at a gas station. It's quite windy actually, but it's sunny, which is really nice. So yeah, we're about to have lunch and then we will continue our journey. So we drove on, and by the time we got there, it was quite late. So my uncle and I decided to go out on a walk with the dogs. And somewhere along the lines, I thought it would be a good idea to take a night shot. And, you know, the composition looked nice. I mean, what could go wrong? Well, the results were, well, disappointing. They were all blurry, and even with the tripod they had a lot of glare. And it sucked because it kind of ruined that positive attitude that I had, and looking back it's probably one of the dumber decisions that I made, as it really threw me down. I love arriving at a place at night and waking up in the morning to discover something incredible. That's what that morning felt like, and I just had that desire in the top of my head to just get out of the house nice and early in the morning. And that's something that I just never even think about. It's just not even in my mindset. And to my complete surprise, there's literally no one on the golf course. We're just out here taking some photos with the dog. This is heaven. When I got back home, everyone had gone to the park, so I pretty much just grabbed my end stacks and headed straight there. ¿Un poquito más? Ahí va, perfecto. Hace 6, 8, 8, 8, lo vi en tu Instagram, ¿no? Now's that time where I hit a golf ball for the first time in 4 years, so this should be fun. Still got it. This is also the same golf club that I used all those years ago, so it's a little bit short, but she still works. after the success with golf, our cousins came over, and it was just so bizarre. We were so many in the house. So obviously I had the idea to take a cool group Instax. It turned out great, thankfully. But it was just great to just catch up with everyone. It's been so long since we've all seen each other in one place at the same time. It was quite bizarre, but it was quite cool.
Day 4.
So our rule of thumb from the beginning of the trip was, if it's sunny, you go outside and you only come back when it starts to rain or when it's just straight up dark outside. So I wake up to a nice and sunny day and I know in my head that I'm gonna go outside and jump straight to my first outdoor Instax. And after a little bit of scouting the day before, I knew the exact location. Straight up, it's one of my favorites from the entire trip. I don't know what it is. It just looks good, but it's not perfect, which at the end of the day is everything an Instax is meant to be. Anyways, after that we headed straight to the beach. And I even managed to convince my cousins to line up so that we could take a cool photo. I don't know what I was on, but it must have been good if I thought that these compositions looked nice from this close. In hindsight, I probably should have shot them from way farther back. I also had a first attempt at taking a side profile picture of my uncle. Honestly, they don't look bad. I actually quite like them, but I thought I could do better. I knew I could do better.
Later that same evening.
Later on, we headed to the coastal city of Mar del Plata. We went to the port, which was honestly pretty cool. And I even got photos of a boat that had clearly seen worse than our 30 hours of travel, which by then, I thought was completely impossible. When we were coming back home, there was this beautiful sunset off to the horizon. It was beautiful. So I pretty much jumped out of a rolling vehicle just so that I could get some shots. And they're not bad. I mean, there's no other way to describe them. They're not bad. I like them. And as I was walking back home, I remember just looking up, and to my complete surprise, the amount of stars that were in the sky was just completely unfathomable. It was insane. So as soon as I got home, I grabbed the tripod and went out straight just to get star shots. I had never done it before. So I set it up, I point the camera up, and after messing around with some exposures, and I feel like that's just the motivation boost that I needed after the failed attempts from day 2. These were honestly the first photos that I ever took that when looking at them on the back of the screen, I was like, I took this. And it just felt amazing. Like, you don't really see any stars in Dubai ever, so to be able to get that shot was really cool to me. So after the amazing success of the star shots the night before, I decided to start off the morning a little bit differently. I decided to go on a slightly longer walk this morning, but I knew that I'd die of dehydration, so I used this as an excuse to stop at the old water wells so that I could fill up my water bottle. I got to the place which I was originally meant to go to, which was the old cork tree.
This feels so weird because when you touch it, it's literally cork.
The reason why I went there was so that I could get some pieces of the bark so that I could bring back home, which was something that I'd been thinking about ever since I came back to Dubai. I feel like I need a little bit of context here, as in, I've been going to that exact community and to that exact house every single summer and winter break that I've had in those 12 years that I've lived in Argentina. And that cork tree has been there every single time that I've been there ever since I was a kid. And it's quite stunning how I never really took a piece of the cork tree in 12 years. And it was only something that I thought about when I came to Dubai and I didn't really have access to a cork tree. Then our cousins once again came back and we celebrated my little cousin's birthday. The issue that we had by then was something that we hadn't really thought about, and that was our lips, actually.
Dude, my lips are so dry that I need to put on cream, and I look like a teenage female model. Oh, this sucks.
Just something we had to deal with. I mean, we got used to it eventually.
The next day.
So we had a chill day ahead of us, to say the least. We had nothing planned, we were just winging it at that point. And there was no better way to start off than, for me, to be left in charge of the baby.
Hola, Borja, ¿cómo estás? Te agarra el pie. Te agarra el pie. ¿Cómo?
Anyways, we had nothing planned, so we decided to kill time by going to the cliffs and enjoying the views. I actually really like the shots I got that day. I don't know, I feel like the lighting was really in my favor for the most part. After the cliffs, I went back to the same location as the other day, which by then I was dubbing Sunset Avenue. And to add to the whole peacefulness level, the sky turned just a beautiful pink, and I feel like words couldn't really describe what I saw, and no picture would ever do it justice, but it was just beautiful. Oh, and I saw this. Looking back, I feel like this was more of a basic day, but in a sense, I feel like it was very important to have after all these scripted days. It's just so rewarding to see yourself making a plan midday and to see everything work out by the time you're back home. It's one of the most rewarding feelings that you can get when traveling. I feel like by the week milestone, the routine had fully kicked in. So it was wake up, have breakfast, and go out on a walk with the dogs, just completely straight after. And I feel like it's really important for dogs to have that, in the sense of just an isolated area where they can just run around without a leash. It just gives them so much freedom, and I feel like it's something that most pet dogs are in desperate need right now. To continue the routine, if I come back home and there's not any movement, I'd drop off the dogs and pick up the camera and go out on a quick photo walk. And when I got back, I probably had the best surprise of the entire trip, actually.
The kids playing golf is probably the cutest thing that's happened all day today. Look at him go. There you go. He got it eventually.
While we were having lunch, this big bird, this proper massive bird, just decides to land like right outside in the deck area. And we're all just sat there admiring it, and then I snap into reality and I'm like, where the is my camera? After our stomach aches died out, we headed to the coastal city of Miramar. And on the way, we stopped at these signs so that we could get a cool Instax. Anyways, we met up at a relatively central park in Miramar so that we could head to our program, which was to ride these small pedal-driven cars, which were quite common there in that area. And oh my lord, it was intense. I can only describe this experience as the most exhausting thing that I had done in a really long time.
Meron ako tumili. Dola ka la Constitución Argentina. Ahí viene.
I honestly don't even know how I'm still alive to tell the tale today. It was intense.
¡Dale que chocamos!
And I think I went through the fastest change of opinion that I have gone through in, let's just say, a really long time.
This is so not worth it.
So, was it worth it?
Yes, it was worth it.
Oh well, at least the waffles that we had for dinner made it worth it. However, even after all of that chaos of a day full of everything, I still had one more thing that I needed to get done, and that was to get the composition of the lamppost. So I went exactly to do that with the mindset of, I am not coming back to the house without this photo in the bag.
So we're out here taking some night shots. We're trying to get a composition of that lamppost over there, which you can't even see because it's so dark. But we got the Nikon here on the tripod, so let's hope something works.
And I cannot describe how happy I was after seeing the end results. I feel like seeing the results of an image after a while it's all well and good. You go home feeling great. But the thing that fills me with the most joy and happiness is accomplishment. And after having failed taking a photo on the second day of my trip and just coming back and nailing the composition is just one of the most rewarding feelings that I had probably throughout this entire trip. So after the success of the night shot the day before and the morning photo walk, I felt like I had pretty much achieved everything that I needed for this first chapter of the film to work, and I was honestly pumped. I mean, I decided that I wasn't going to take any photos that day, but I wasn't going to bother about carrying a big camera with me. I was just going to spend that day with family, and it was cool because that day felt like a break. But it also happened right after the most intense day that we had had so far, and it just felt good, you know? We were trying to find an excuse to go to the beach restaurant, and we felt like it was a good time, so we went there, and as soon as we're done with like the essentials, it starts to rain. And we knew that it was coming eventually, but we sort of felt like so lucky, because it happened at the right time, and we're like, it's like the end of a book or the end of a movie where everything just starts, like, you know, fitting into place and everything just starts going well, and it just felt amazing. And we weren't, you know, particularly happy to be leaving the coast, but we felt like we had accomplished it. and we were so happy that everything worked out. So for the actual travel day, we didn't really rush as we had some stuff to do before we headed back, but as soon as we were done with those, we took a final instax with the house, and with tears in my eyes, I said goodbye to my favorite place in the world. But even though I was sad, I knew deep down that I had accomplished everything that I wanted to, and that this film was going to help me remember this for the rest of my life, and I was so grateful.
Just woke up and it's raining out. Shit.
So day one in Buenos Aires, we wake up and it's raining. Lovely. So to kill some time, we just hopped on the car and went to the old Walmart, which by then has now been rebranded to this. Honestly, it still felt like Walmart inside, so honestly, thumbs up to the Argentine industry, I guess.
So it actually rained quite heavily this morning, but it did stop, so we're out on a walk with the dog. Weather-wise, it's pretty nice. It's just very wet, so it's not going to be as enjoyable for the dog.
To some extent, I feel like the most interesting thing that happened that day was seeing a smiley face being drawn on wet concrete. And I don't know, it's just because I'm not really used to seeing that, especially here in Dubai. They probably chop your hands off if you do that. But all jokes aside, I feel like this was overall not the nicest way to start off this chapter of the trip. And it just made me think to myself, like, oh, dude, why didn't I just stay back in the coast? It just makes you think, oh, this wasn't worth it, and it was just not a smooth start, and not something that we were particularly happy of.
Qué manera de mierda de arrancar, eh?
So that was that. After the disaster of yesterday, we pretty much just regrouped with everyone and headed to the port. Honestly, nothing much to say. No one got mugged, so that's good, I guess. But we did see this cockroach, which God knows how it got itself there. And a plane flew directly above us, but other than that, that was pretty much it. It was quite nice, honestly.
So we went to the port earlier this morning. It was a really nice day, but now that the sun is going down, the jacket needs to come on. We're just out on a walk right now, so let's see how this goes.
In my community, there's this descendant tree of a tree that survived the bombing of Hiroshima in World War II. And since I was out, I decided that there wouldn't have been a better opportunity to go and check it out. So I went and I did just that. And honestly, I just feel like this was the way in which we should have started the whole chapter of the trip. But oh well, I guess second day is better than third day at the end of the day, am I right?
What an incredible day. Let's go!
After an amazing day, we woke up once again to a rainy day. But it did stop, and when it did, my grandfather and I got on the car and went to the Rural, which is the exposition of all things agriculture and primary sector in Argentina. I think, anyways.
We made it.
Oh, and if you're wondering, yeah, it smelled like shit. Well, except for the part that had cheese stands. It smelled like cheese there.
I never smelled such a strong smell of cheese in my life. That's crazy.
But the place itself was actually really sick. They not only had horses and cows, but they also had birds, machinery, everything that had to do with the primary sector in Argentina. And they even had a Ford track at the very back of the event site. And it was just sick, honestly. I really enjoyed it.
When your uncle is famous, gets featured on Instagram videos. Bien ahí, Javi.
So we said goodbye to the cows, and just as I felt that the fun was over, we were heading back home and I saw this floating construction machine. And there I was thinking that Tokyo was the city of the future. And when I got home, just like every night, I wrote on my little notebook. And honestly, that little notebook proved to be incredibly effective, not just for memory's sake, but also for writing the script for the film. It's way more of a structured timeline of each day, and I'm not relying on what I filmed and what I took photos of. So as I was writing, I vividly remembered just mentally preparing myself for what was going to be the next day, as we were going to head to the heart of one of the largest cities in the world. I was fully pumped, and there was nothing that could go wrong.
Alright, it's 11:42. The original plan for today was to go to the capital, to Buenos Aires. However, there are pickets, so we're just improvising right now. I'm just out on a walk. Thankfully, it's a really nice day. It's sunny. Still really cold though. So yeah, let's hope today goes relatively okay.
And I was so annoyed because there's so many photographic opportunities that I can get in the city in Buenos Aires that I'm just not able to get here in Dubai. But instead of letting it affect me, I just pretended like it didn't happen and I just carried on like it was a normal day. But thankfully we were blessed that day with a very nice and sunny day, so it was just a must. I had to go out on a walk with the camera.
What a beautiful day though. Dude literally showed up as I was walking away. That's crazy. Like the idiot that I am, I forgot to bring a tripod, but we're getting a composition of the little boat over there. Beautiful. It's cold. Using the curve this time. Oh boy. Oh, this is horrible. It's not working. Oh well, we got what we got. Got it.
I honestly feel like taking photos was more of an excuse to leave the house and go out on a walk. I don't know, I'm just really not happy with any of the photos that I got during photo walks. But it was still fun, thankfully.
Oh, there's a plane. That security guard pretty much just came up to me and told me that I'm not allowed to film or take photos, which, oh well. What can we do about it? He was nice though. Oh well.
But I just found it strange how I wasn't able to take photos in my own community. I later learned that it was because it could be classified as spying. I mean, yeah, makes sense, private community. Oh well, I wasn't complaining. So all bummed out, I headed back home, and later on, we headed to my godfather's place, where I forced him to take a photo with me, and I forced him to sign it. He ended up writing something underneath there. I don't know. Quite smart of him, though. Thankfully, for the first time in forever, we woke up to a nice and sunny day. So we just chilled in a t-shirt all morning. And we just never thought that that would happen. It was just amazing. So honestly, that was the best morning so far. It was great. So like, here's where the film took a small turn for the worse, really. As I really didn't do anything that was documentable for the next couple days. I mean, like, yeah, I did go to see my friends, and I nearly killed myself on a bike. And the next morning, we once again had a beautiful day, and that night we went to see some family friends in the city. But overall, I just thought to myself,
It's strange now, because for the past couple of days maybe, it feels like nothing's really been happening to sort of make this film work. Like, obviously I'm really happy, because I've been seeing my friends, but like, regarding the film, it's just, I just need to hope that it all just works out at the end, and I don't know. I just have no idea.
so at that point I was like, why in the am I worrying about all of this when I could just be enjoying this trip, stress-free with my family, but instead I'm worrying about making this film. So at that point I was like, okay, if tomorrow doesn't work out, I'm scrapping this project. And it was kind of sad, because like, I thought that I had reached a point of no return, but clearly I hadn't, and sadly I was quite firm on that statement. So I know in my head that it's the last shot before I completely scrap the film. And I was nervous. But there is that constant drive to just push through it, and if there is something that I should question, then I'll question it. And if it's standing in my way of completing this film, then I will do it. Because that is what I do best, as I don't let a challenge get the better of me. The thing I can vividly remember about that day was going back in the car, just back home, and I just had a huge sigh of relief. I was so motivated once again to just keep on doing this film, and I don't know, I just felt like it was going well again, like it was when we were ending phase 1. So the timing was absolutely amazing. It was once again like the ending of a book or a movie where just everything starts to go up. And I was full of motivation to see what our next location and this next chapter of the trip had in store for us. So we had a rough 4-hour drive ahead of us, and after going through desert land for what felt like absolutely forever, we made it.
Let's go! We made it! Let's go! Finally! God, it felt like forever, but we're here now. Oh, we're about to have some of the best days of our life. Let's go.
And the first thing that we did was go to our cousin's school so that we could pick them up, and went to a nearby footpath so that we could go on a walk during golden hour.
It's bright. It's very bright. ¡Ew! O sea, irme a la loma del Reculins. Sí, I'm down.
I feel like my expectations for the start of this trip were really low, especially after the start that we had in Buenos Aires, but without a doubt, this was easily the best start that we had in this entire trip. And we were really excited for the next couple of days that were ahead of us. The next day, my uncle and I headed to a famous waterfall in the area, which had apparently been dry for quite a while, but since it started to rain recently, it was once again a waterfall, so we went to check that out. And I even made the daring move to walk on a random rock that was quite high, honestly.
The sketchy way. Yanai. I can see it! It's somewhere there. I lost it. There it is. You can see it. Let's go. Oh yeah. It's a bit cold, so we're migrating upwards right there. It's freezing. It's great though. This view is insane. Let's go. So the girls are over there in the Christ statue. There's a Christ statue over there, and we're zooming in with the 200mm lens. And it's funny because we can actually see little blobs of them, and they're literally there, but we're here. Javi, ¿quién está teniendo el mejor programa?
Obviamente que nosotros.
Exactamente.
Anyways, after that we headed down, had lunch, all that boring crap. But in the afternoon we headed to a different footpath. Not much to say, honestly, other than it was really, really beautiful to be walking through the mountains.
Alrighty. We are pretty much coming to the end of this walk right now. Didn't really take any photos at all, pretty much, but it was still a really nice walk. And it was overall just a great way to start this new part of the trip, so today gets a huge thumbs up from me. And
so for day 22, we had to get a few basics done in the morning. So we split up and we were in charge of going to get the cheese.
we're buying cheese for tonight. It smells like cheese here.
And since we were done early, we just went up to the castle in one of the mountains, and it was honestly beautiful.
Ya arranqué, ¿eh?
So we grouped up with everyone at one of the largest parks in the area, which was unique as it had these massive dinosaur structures that were made out of metal, and they honestly look insane.
Cuchillo! How you doing?
But once we met up, we headed to the chairlifts, which take you from one mountaintop to another.
¿Está listo? Hola, ¿qué tal? ¡Llegó! ¡Oh! ¡Bien, vamos! ¡Vamos!
¿No te gusta cómo salgo con la botella?
Qué bien, Manu, ¿no?
Ay, casi llego. A ver.
¿Te agarraste? Va bien, vos, ¿no?
A la derecha.
Sí, besito. Muchas gracias. Perdón.
So yeah, after that we went to my aunt and uncle's place where we had some dinner where we utilized the cheese that we got earlier that morning. Overall, I feel like that day was just absolutely amazing. It was full of chaos, full of adrenaline, and I feel like that's what family trips are meant to be at the end of the day. It's just a lot of going out and going on these amazing adventures and just having fun. And I feel like that day ticks off every single one of those boxes. And it's another day that I'm just never gonna forget.
Alright, so I went to church this morning. Got some pretty cool photos of the cathedral. It's cold, it's freezing. But yeah, now we're at a different location. Hopefully, we're about to get some really nice shots. So let's see how this goes.
Toma de vuelta. Toma de vuelta.
So we explored that place in the mountains in the morning, and for lunch we decided to go to a place that is very Route 66 themed. And boy oh boy, did this place not just have amazing food, but it also had an old car museum inside, so we obviously had to go check that out.
We're back. This time as a tour guide for my cousins. So this will be fun.
Hey, marca que no lo vas filmando todo.
Bien pedo.
Bueno, no un poco nomás.
¿Cómo?
That night we went to a local restaurant to not just say goodbye to our cousins and aunt and uncle that came all the way to Tandil to visit us, but also to say bye to this location. It was such an incredible 4 days that we had there, and even though we were all really sad to be leaving, we felt like we had accomplished it. And we were just so grateful for everything that we were able to experience here. From the start, we had no idea if this part of the trip was even going to be possible, but thankfully we managed to pull it off, and I believe we managed to do it quite well. The weird thing about coming to the end of this project is that at the start, I knew this was going to be the time where I'd be here talking to you about my time in Argentina. But at the start, I didn't have a clue what was going to happen. It was always going to be the unknown. And I mean, like, you look at things in January and it's like this unfathomable thing that you just can't seem to wrap your head around. But once you're on the other side, you're like, oh, if you take things step by step, then a project as complicated as 4 weeks in Argentina can be achieved. And honestly, I feel like there's no word to describe. I mean, surreal is the only word that I can use to describe it. It's just amazing. I knew it was going to be hard, but it's easily been 4 of the most exhausting weeks of my life. If there's one thing that this trip has taught me is that You learn to enjoy the natural beauty of a country without even bothering about politics or corruption or inflation. You learn to see the beauty in everything. You learn to enjoy every moment of your trip, and more importantly, to make each day count.